Someday starts now. I look at these videos and I am just so blessed. But that is my dream. What is yours? What is your goal? See, these are all great stories, but it's the principles we take from these stories that we apply to our own lives, guys, that makes all the difference. I'm going to share just one quick other story, and we're going to wrap this up. I have a dear mentor, a great friend. I just got off the email with him today. His name is Andy Andrews. If you've not read Andy Andrews' The Butterfly Effect, you've got to go read it. I asked special permission tonight if I could share his story that he shared with me, and he says, absolutely, we're buds. He sends me all of his books. I want you to also write down The Traveler's Gift, a book that will change your life. Check it out. But the butterfly effect is something that I learned about. I'm not talking about the Ashton Kutcher movie, by the way. I'm talking about a doctoral thesis that came from a guy named Edward Lorenz back in 1963. This guy, Edward Lorenz, had this idea that butterflies on the other side of the world could flap their little butterfly wings, which would move air molecules, which in turn would move more air molecules, and so on and so forth, until those air molecules would actually create a giant storm, a tornado, maybe even a hurricane on the other side of the world. Ridiculous, right? But it was interesting, so it hung around. This was his doctoral thesis, and it was laughed out of the New York Academy of Sciences. But it stuck around because it was interesting. And after they did some more research and looking into this thing called the butterfly effect, they actually found that it was viable, and it worked every single time. And not just with butterflies, but with every moving matter, including humans. Now, the reason I tell you about this, I like to call the butterfly effect, it's the butterfly effect, but it was actually given the status of a law. They actually call the butterfly effect the law of sensitive dependence upon initial conditions. It's kind of a big mouthful, right? But I like to call it the George Bailey effect. My father's favorite movie is this movie, It's a Wonderful Life. See, my buddy Andy Andrews, he told me one night, he says, Nathan, I was in my room, and I was ironing a shirt. And in the other room, there was a television on. Peter Jennings was doing the Person of the Week. And he says he was listening and he could barely hear it as he's ironing. The Person of the Week for this week, he said, was Norman Borlaug. Norman Borlaug. He put down the iron. He went running into the other room and he said, Norman Borlaug. He said, I knew who he was. I didn't even know he was still alive. 91-year-old Norman Borlaug, winning Person of the Week. Now, Norman Borlaug was being credited for saving the lives of over 2 billion people and counting. You see, he had hybridized a certain type of corn or wheat that was planted in arid countries like the plains of Siberia, South Africa, South America, and saved the lives of over 2 billion people and counting. Person of the Week. But this really irritated Andy. You know why? Because he knew it wasn't Norman Borlaug that saved the 2 billion people. It was Henry Wallace, the vice president under Roosevelt. And some of you are going, wait a minute, I thought Truman was president under vice president. You're right. But he actually had a couple vice presidents. His very first vice president was a guy named Henry Wallace. Now, Henry Wallace, while he had that great power and position of vice president of the United States of America, he set up a post in Mexico for the sole purpose of learning how to hybridize corn and wheat to be planted in the plains of Siberia and South Africa. And he hired a young Norman Borlaug to run that post. So if you really stop and think about it, wasn't it really Henry Wallace that deserved to be Person of the Week? Unless, maybe it was this guy, George Washington Carver. Y'all heard about Carver? You like peanut butter, barbecue sauce, Worcestershire sauce? The guy's made so many products out of the peanut and the sweet potato. I love this guy. But a story that most people don't know about George Washington Carver is that when he was a student at Iowa State University, he had a dairy sciences professor that would allow his 6-year-old son to go with George Washington Carver on these little botanical expeditions on Saturdays and Sundays. Now, while George Washington is flapping his butterfly wing over here on the sweet potato and over here on the peanut and back here what he called the Victory Garden, it fed half the United States during World War II, while no one is looking, he's flapping a little butterfly into the heart of a 6-year-old Henry Wallace, showing him the power of plants and what science can do and how it can affect humanity. So if you stop and think about it, I'm thinking Carver for Person of the Week. Aren't you? Unless maybe, just maybe, it was the farmer from Diamond, Missouri. Moses and Susan lived in a slavery state, but they didn't believe in slavery, which caused a lot of friction in that state with these radicals like Quantrill's Raiders who come riding in on their horses with their burlap sacks, and they'd shoot people, and they'd burn barns, and they'd steal people, and they'd steal horses. One day they came into Moses and Susan's farm, shot a few people, burned the barn, stole some horses, and they rode off with this lady named Mary Washington because she refused to let go of her little infant baby boy. Now, Mary was one of Susan's best friends, and this really upset Susan. So Moses, the little farmer from Diamond, Missouri, decided he was going to do something about this. He put a question over here, an inquiry over here, and a few days later was actually able to work out a meeting with an offshoot group of Quantrill's Raiders in a little crossroads in Kansas on a cold January night. He pulls up on his horse, and sure enough, here they come riding in with those burlap sacks with the holes cut out for their eyes. And Moses trades his own horse, his only horse, for what they throw to him in a bag. And they ride off into the night. And Moses gets down on his hands and his knees. And he opens up this bag and he pulls out this frozen, almost dead baby boy. He unbuttons his shirt and he stuffs that baby in there. Put him up against his skin. He walked that baby out talking to him, knowing that his mother had already been killed, and said that he would raise him as his own son. And this is how Moses and Susan Carver came to raise that little boy, George Washington. So if you really stop and think about it, wasn't it really the farmer from Diamond, Missouri that saved the lives of over 2 billion people and counting? Unless. And that's the point. Who knows really who it was that made that one move, that one night, that saved the lives of over 2 billion people and counting? And who knows who it is in your life, that one move where you decide you're going to go take your kid to McDonald's? Who knows what you're going to do when you go over and visit that little widow across the street? Who knows what impact you're going to have when you help those children across the street or teach a child mathematics? Who knows? Because everything that we do and everything that we don't do matters every single time. And not just to a few of us, but to all of us. There are literally generations yet unborn whose very existence depends on what we do today and tomorrow and the next day. Because everything we do matters to all of us every single time. And I thank my mentor, Andy, for sharing that with me. Guys, we're going to wrap up. My friend David Bach, maybe you've seen him on Oprah's Debt Diet. Maybe you've seen him on the show. He wrote Smart Couples Finish Rich, the Finish Rich workbook. I love this. He asked me one time when we were backstage in New York City at the Copacabana. We did a seminar at the Copacabana. First time I ever meet the guy, I think he was just practicing his talk. But he says to me, "Nathan, do you want to be rich? Is that a good goal?" Sure, who doesn't want to be rich? I said, "You bet." He says, "Gotcha, that's a trick question. Everybody says they want to be rich. Here's the real question, Nathan Osmond. Why do you want to be rich?" And then the conversation changed. And then we started talking about things that are priceless, like our relationships. That's why I want to be rich. Because I care about my wife and my kids and how we turn out. Money's not everything. In fact, you know what? You define that word success. You know, I don't have a CMA award or a Grammy, and that's okay. It is. Because you know why? I was at a little pumpkin patch with my kids. I was the local celebrity telling ghost stories for Halloween. And as we were waiting for our time to go over and tell those ghost stories, I start walking through a little cornfield, and the radio station decides to play Nathan Osmond. My kids looked at me like I was the biggest rock star in the world. That's success. But that's my definition. What's yours? Guys, you know what? I saw a billboard on the highway once, and it really resonated with me. It says, "The people you work for are waiting for you at home." Did you hear that? The people that you work for are waiting for you at home. A lot of times we buy into the idea that I work for a boss, I work for a company, a logo, a brand, a supervisor. That is a lot of load of you know what. The people you work for are waiting for you at home. Guys, if you write one more book down, it is this one. Man's Search for Meaning. This was written by a guy named Dr. Viktor Frankl. He was an Auschwitz survivor, a Nazi death camp survivor. His entire life's work was taken from him and burned in front of him. His entire life's work, his entire family was taken and torn from his arms in front of him. But he had something to live for. His mission was not over. He had to finish that work that had been burned, and it kept him alive. You know what he says in his first chapter of his book? Don't aim at success, for success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue, and it can only do so as an unintended side effect to one's dedication to a cause greater than oneself. That's fancy talk. He breaks it down in the same chapter, and he says, if you know your why, you can endure almost any how. How is none of your business. Focus on the why. My kids, my wife, they're my why. What's your why? You know, I'm going to end by sharing one little message from one of my best mentors. We've been in the recording studio here at Rock Canyon. His name is Les Brown. And you know what he said to me? Something that his mama always loved to hear him say. And my mama gets to hear it for the first time tonight. If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and sleep for it, if all that you dream of and scheme of is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold, famine, poverty, or gout, sickness, or pain of body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God, you'll get it. And why? I can sum it up in these 5 simple words. You were born to shine. May God bless you. God bless your dreams. And God bless America. Thank you so much. Thank you. You guys are too much. Wow, thank you.
Hey, it's Johnny Covey, the author of 5 Habits to Lead from Your Heart and creator of the Head to Heart framework. I just saw Nathan Osmond. It was a really cool experience. His energy it's off the charts. I love going to a speaker where you feel like I've been entertained, I've had an experience, and I've been inspired. He has all 3 of those because he's sharing from his heart. That's what I love about Nathan. He is all heart. He's got the quotes, he understands how it all fits together, but you can feel his heart. His stories, how he weaves them together, it's amazing. So if you haven't seen Nathan, check him out for sure. You will not be disappointed. If you haven't heard him sing, it's just absolutely moving. So come and check him out, he's fantastic.
I just heard the very best inspirational speech I've ever heard, and it came straight from the heart from a great man. Nathan Osmond really knows how to connect with the audience. You actually turn your focus to positivity, to inspiration, and lift your organization. It's been an amazing evening to be able to be here tonight, and I guarantee that if you hire him, you will not go away disappointed.
I've been listening to motivational speakers for almost all my life. Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, and now Nathan Osmond. I love Nathan. Where do I get more of Nathan?
So I just found out about Nathan Osmond yesterday from a mutual friend and was invited here tonight. And I got to tell you the truth, this guy's like one of the best kept secrets around. He's awesome. I mean, the dude sings, the guy's an entertainer and an excellent motivational speaker. And I was just pumped to be here, and this guy is awesome.
Hi, I traveled 50 miles tonight to hear Nathan give this motivational seminar, and it was so inspiring. He made me laugh, he made me cry, and I just leave here with a great number of quotes and internalizing it into the greatness that he says we all have within us. So thank you, Nathan.
The energy he just produces is phenomenal. I advise you to catch one of his programs if you can get a chance to see him. Huge support of our troops. Thank him for that. And also, I was fed like with a water hose, and it was awesome.
That was the most powerful, amazing show and motivational speaking that I've ever seen.
And he was very entertaining and very, very sincere in the stories that he told, and he touched our hearts and really motivated us.
He can make you cry, he can make you laugh, and he can sing, he can do comedy, he can do, obviously, speaking.
And what a guy, that's all I can say. He is energetic, he's fun, never a dull moment when you're around Nathan.
He's talented, and I have a new rejuvenation of life and what I need to do next with everything for my future, and I needed this today.
We just got finished watching Nathan Osmond's presentation, and it was fantastic.
Awesome in sign language, awesome, amazing.
Yeah, one of the best, most motivating, inspiring. He had us laughing, crying, and everything in between. It really was inspiring.
I've been to a lot of motivational seminars and workshops and conferences, and I have never seen anything like this tonight. It was captivating. Like I was on the edge of my seat the whole night. I was writing tons of notes in my notebook. Got a lot of great content to take home with me tonight. It's going to make me a better person.
I recommend him to anyone who needs some kick and enthusiasm and motivation. He'll get the job done.
I am just totally blown away by his presentation here tonight. He's a fabulous speaker. He's very motivational. I can't go home now without making a to-do list of 20 things to do after hearing Nathan speak.
Nathan Osmond is the most amazing person I have ever met. He is the sweetest, kindest, most down-to-earth man ever.
You could listen all night long. He is the most fantastic speaker. He's full of energy, and you can feel his emotion and his determination to help other people and to share the things that he knows.
If you get a chance to hear him speak, don't be foolish and pass it up. Awesome. Awesome. Don't pass up a chance to see him.